Self-care. What is it? What does it mean to self-care, to look after yourself? Well, this is another of the videos on mental health and well-being and looking after yourself. Today's video is mainly about self-care. So, hello, how are you today? So, self-care is an important thing in life. It is important for your well-being, and it's vastly important for your mental health. Because looking after yourself, taking that time in life to slow down and to think about life itself, not just life, but about you and where you fit in life, where you want to go. You've got to think about your future. You've got to think about this moment in time. Because it's great, you know, some people live in the past. And certainly at times in my life, I've lived in the past itself. And perhaps currently in my life, I'm living with the past. But now is the most important moment in your life. This very moment now, when you're watching this video, this day and tomorrow. Because the way we think now and the decisions we make today will affect tomorrow. So for instance, if you decide, you know, today that you're going to start a new job, start a new career, go to university, travel the world, that is going to affect your future. That is going to dramatically change who you are as a human being. But not only that, it's going to make you a richer human being, and not when it comes to money, but when it comes to spirit and self-identity and being who you are, your true self. So self-care is an important thing. It's important to take that moment in life to look after yourself, not just physically. Yes, it's great, you may go to the gym and keep, you know, tip-top in shape. But self-care also is important on an emotional and on a psychological level as well. Because we're not taught these things, are we? You know, you're at school, you're not taught how to have self-care, you're not taught how to think correctly and how to think for yourself, really. You're not taught how to be the best you can be. You know, they teach you boring subjects like, you know, religion, which is, you know, not a boring subject, but it's a fascinating subject. But they teach you subjects, but it's not always fundamentally practical to life. I mean, what's the point of studying history at school if you're never going to use history in your life? Well, for me personally, I love history, as you very well know. So self-care is very important. And this is one of those impromptu videos. I don't have a script. I have a list of keywords which I'm going to go through and talk about in this video. And it is one of those videos where I'm just going to sit down and just tell you what I think and try to relate it to myself, but also relate it a little bit to the medieval age, which I know a lot about and what this channel has and is and still will be about in the future. So, self-care tips. Let's have a few of them. So, taking that time in life to slow down. And what I mean by slowing down is because we're often in life in a rush. We're in a rush to get to here, we're in a rush to do that. You're rushing to edit your next video. You're rushing to go and meet your friends. But some days you've got to slow down and think about yourself. So having those moments to relax, those moments to reflect and to think. Because how many people in the world are lost and they don't know what they want in life? If you slow down and you think about it, you know, you maybe want to meditate a little bit, maybe want to relax on your bed and not watch music, you know, not listen to music or watch TV. Just think about your life and think about you as a human being, where you want to go, where you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years. Because those decisions you're going to make are going to make your life a wonderful thing. And that's all about the self-care. It is about looking after yourself mentally, you know, by practicing good thoughts, by putting out the negativity and trying to surround yourself with positivity. And it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge if you've got friends and they're very negative people, to cut those people out of your life. Because that is a challenge. Because that's not what we do as human beings. We surround ourselves with other human beings because that's what we fundamentally need. We need that friendship and connection. And it's very difficult in life to cut out negative people and negativity in itself. So do try and strive to have positive things around you, and that'll be wonderful, and that'll make your life a bit better. But it's also about seeking help. If you need some self-care tips or you need some support, you got to seek it, you got to ask for it. And yes, it can be difficult to get an appointment with your doctor, but speaking to the right people, perhaps seeing a counsellor. And I've had counselling in the past, and it's been really good for me. And maybe I need some more. I don't know. That is my path. I've got to decide for our future. So, self-care routine. And what do we mean by that phrase? Well, self-care routine is having that routine every day where you get up, you have yourself a good breakfast, you think for a little bit, maybe put a little bit of music on to relax to before work. You go to work, most people work, and you come home, maybe you want to go for a walk after your work, and, go for a run. A lot of people love running. Maybe go to the gym, go swimming. But not just physical things, but also mental things. So listening to music, doing a puzzle, doing an exercise mentally can be really beneficial for your mental health as well. And keeping busy with mental health is such a great thing and a great tool. I mean, it's great. You go to your doctors and they'll say, oh, here's some tablets and, we'll put in a list to see a counsellor. But you could be waiting 6 months to a year to see a counsellor. That's not always going to be the solution. So having that self-care routine every day. And yeah, some days you want to be a little bit more spontaneous. Maybe saying, well, I don't need to go to the gym today. I'm going to go out and go and visit a castle, go to a adventure park, go to the beach for the day. It's all about experience, having positive experience, which will benefit you. And we do have a lot of people in the world, and especially with young men who really struggle with the health. So having that routine is a wonderful and important thing. And mental health itself is a rising thing. I mean, back in the day, when I was, in my early 20s and the 90s, mental health wasn't a thing, really. I mean, yeah, people have mental health problems, but it's not a buzzword like it is today. And no doubt some people over-exaggerate on their mental health, but keeping busy, being distracted will help you on that journey to getting better. So wellness. What do I mean by wellness? Well, wellness is an important factor of that journey to having that perfect mind and body and spirit. So wellness is also looking after yourself, which is another word fundamentally for self-care, isn't it? But taking that time to have that wellness, on a psychological level, mentally, but also on a physical level, taking the time to brush your teeth, comb your hair. I combed my hair today. Taking the time to exercise and walk. Because you've got to look after your body. And especially as you start getting older in life, you've got to think about longevity. I mean, they say the first thing to go in old age is your legs. And when you lose your legs, your health just terminally drops. And you're getting towards the end of your life. So look after your legs, but also look after your brain. Do a crossword, do a puzzle, and keep your brain active. Read a book. Reading is a wonderful thing, but it takes you to another place. And yes, you may not like physical books, but you can get a Kindle and read a book on a tablet, or you can have audio books. It is a way to escape. It's a way to think as well. And of course, the more you read, the more knowledge you have, and knowledge is power, isn't it? Let's face it. But also understanding words, because words are power, and words are magic when you think about it. This is a whole entire subject for another day. So emotional well-being. So emotional well-being is making sure that emotionally you are cared for within yourself, and that you have that perfect stability in your life. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. No, it takes time. All good things in life take time. And bad things, I think, always happen very quickly. So take the time to reflect, and you can have that emotional well-being, because it's so important to take care of yourself, to reflect, and to move forward in a positive manner. So personal growth as well comes into this, because the more you develop, the more you understand who you are, the more you have self-care, the more you're going to personally grow as a human being and as a spirit. This here is a body, but my spirit is in here and in here. It is a much higher thing than a body and a much more spiritual thing. So thinking about that is quite amazing. Then a friend of mine the other day was telling me that if you're a lonely child, and she reads a lot, she's saying, you know, do you realise it takes 5,000 of your relatives to get you to that stage as a lonely child? So it's quite amazing to think that, you know, if you're a lonely child, and in my life I often felt like a lonely child, even though I had siblings, but because those siblings were way older than me, you know, 10 years, 20 years older, I felt like a lonely child. But to think, if you are a lonely child, 5,000 of your relatives have lived before you. They've gone through the Black Death, they've gone through wars, they've gone through the Iron Age, and all these moments in life. That is really amazing. And actually, you think about it, it's quite mind-blowing. So stress relief, it's another important thing to cope with stress. Going for a walk is great for that. Do some gardening, talking to your friends, and go to the gym, a swim, holiday. There's so many things you could do for stress relief. Don't get yourself stressed, because you're getting stressed, you're not dealing with it, and that stress will just create more stress, and then you start stressing over the stress. And that forms a vicious circle. You're stressed, you're more stressed, you're thinking about the stress, you're more stressed, and that circle continues and continues. So you have to stop and break that circle of stress. And you can do that by so many different ways. Personally, I like a bit of gardening. I find that going for a walk in my local woods is quite relaxing. Concentrating on content also is important. And I can give you a sample of this in my life. So when I was 17 and I had my first girlfriend, her name was Yizan, and we went out for 3 months, and then we broke up at Twycross Zoo, and it kind of broke my heart at the time. That was the first time when I went and bought a PC from my neighbour called John. I was working, so I had money, and I paid him £500. And the only reason why I brought it was so I could go and play the game Doom. Because playing that game Doom, it's a brilliant game, and this would be in 1992, 93, it was a stress relief. So, yes, sometimes, still today, I'm a big Minecraft player when I do play at times. I mean, I'm one of these very unusual people in Minecraft that has been playing on the same survival world for 13 years. Most people don't do that, but I've had so much joy and pleasure, but not just Minecraft, you know, Call of Duty, and various many other games, Grand Theft Auto, and that is also a way for me to relieve the stress. And of course, you have a little bit of a community on the Xbox or the PlayStation or PC with your friends. There's also a way to relieve that stress. So mindfulness, what is it, or what does that mean? Well, that simply means what it says: being mindful of yourself, being mindful of your situation. Because if you're in a stressful situation, and you're in a situation that causes you mental harm, you've got to address it, and you've got to move forward in a positive light. You know, in theory, you've got to bury it. Now, I often used to practice and still do meditation. So one of the things I used to do when I had stress, I would meditate, get myself to that magical place in my mind, and I would go to a stream, and I would just let all the problems in my life go in the stream. And then I'd walk on, have a little adventure in the meditative state. That's one way of relieving it. Another way in meditation is to imagine a place you know. Let's say you know a nice field, and you've been to a picnic underneath a big oak tree. Well, in your mind, you go to that tree, and you dig a hole, and you put all your problems in a box, and you bury it. And then you go to a new place, and you see yourself, you know, you look down on yourself as this positive person, the person that you desire to be. So meditation is a wonderful thing, and there's lots of videos online about meditation, and perhaps in a future video, if you want me to, I will talk about that from my point of view, but how to meditate. And then we have the word self-love. Self-love is loving yourself for who you are. And a lot of people don't like who they are. They may not like themselves because they're not very nice. They may not like themselves because they're overweight and they're not happy with the body. Self-love is also very important as well. And you know, in my life, you know, I always say to people, be kind and be good. And I like to say that most of the time I practice those words, but there's always a little bit of me which can say things to people that can hurt them, because I'm a human being and I make mistakes, and I try to be aware of that. So also having that self-awareness of who you are, so you can change yourself to be a better person, is also important. So how to take care of yourself? Well, I'm sure in the last few minutes I've told you a few of these things: meditating, going for a walk, talking to friends, good friends, because bad friends will be negative about your situation, whereas good friends will have a balanced view, and will give you advice which isn't biased and which isn't going to harm your situation in the future. So do surround yourself with good friends that give you that balanced view if you're seeking advice. And seeking advice of your friend is an old thing, isn't it? Let's face it. If you've got a problem, let's say you're in a bit of financial situation, you're struggling to make ends meet, you go and talk to your friend about it. Your friend may say, well, have you tried budgeting? Have you tried cutting down some of your, direct debits and so forth? Maybe, it may be an emotional thing. Maybe you're having problems with a friend that you're falling out with, and that's affecting you because you're upset about it. So finding somebody that gives you that balanced view, and they may say, well, have you thought about sending them a letter, your mate Tom or whoever is falling out with you? Or have you thought about, giving them a bit of time and space? That too is important. So taking care of yourself, but also slowing down to think about how you do that in your own life, and finding your own way to take care of yourself is important. And then we also have daily self-care habits. And what do I mean by this? Well, those habits are the habits you pick up, the positive habits which will help you along your journey, whether it's spending a few minutes in the garden, whether it's spending a few minutes, tidying your hair, going to the gym, or if you're lucky enough, got a gym in your house, do some weight, running a running machine. That's important. It's important that we have that routine, because that is a part of the journey. If you're in a situation where you're down here and your mental health isn't so good, you want to get up here, you need that daily habit to get you to that stage. It's raining, lovely. So, relaxing routine, again, meditation, again, taking the time to think, listen to music is very relaxing. Don't go listen to heavy metal, it's going to get you angry. Listen to something that calms you. And then healthy habits. And I'm sure already I've talked about these. Those are the habits which are positive and create that positive reinforcement for your conscious and your subconscious, for you as a body, for you as a spirit. So having those healthy habits, eating properly, taking the time to exercise is important. And then we have self-care for anxiety. I put my hands up. I've suffered anxiety and it's not nice. I had that a couple of years ago after my late father died. I was very anxious. And a lot of that was brought on by my bad family and the way they treated me, and shame on them for the way they treated me. So again, if you've got bad family, be brave, have courage, and say, no, I'm not going to accept your behaviour, and I don't want nothing to do with you. And if you can heal that pattern in your family, then do so. But don't be afraid to let go and move on without them, because you're going to feel so much better. But also, anxiety is very important, but also seeking help. Because, you can try all these techniques for meditation, but it may not still deal with your anxiety. So be prepared and do go out your way to see your doctor and get some medication for a while. That will also help with your anxiety, and give it time to work as well. But also accept the fact that you don't want to be on that medication for the rest of your life. So going out having these sessions with a counsellor, whether it's on the phone or in person, is another important step. And my recommendation when it comes to seeing a counsellor is actually do it in person. That's the best approach. It really is. Then do make sure you attend your session, because some organisation, after you miss 2 sessions, will say, well, sorry, we can't see you anymore. You let us down on 2 occasions. And of course, their time is very important. They could be seeing somebody else in that time. So do go out your way to get help and seek help. And counselling is a wonderful thing. You have that cognitive behavioural treatment as well. CBT is also quite important in life. So, yes, and it's not nice anxiety. I mean, I don't really suffer from it too much now, but now and again it does come back. But I've got little things I can do to cope with it, and it goes quickly. And nobody with anxiety or any kind of mental health problem wants to talk about it, really, especially on camera. But I just hope that you appreciate my open honesty, that I'm talking to you now about my journey in life. And what I want from this video and from you on this video is, if I can change one person's life, if I can make their life better from this video, then I've done my job. I've done my bit in the world. And if I could change 10 people's lives with this video, then that's even better. But imagine if I could change 100 people's lives, 1,000, 10,000. That would be, to me, aspiring and truly awesome. So, yes, it's just something, on my life, it's an important aspect of the journey. But not just that, it's also important as a content creator. And I know some people will be saying, oh, why are you talking about these subjects, Braggy, which is my biking name, when you should be talking about biking weapons? Because as a content creator, you have a responsibility to talk about the bigger subjects. I really do think that, because I'm putting myself out there on YouTube, and it's great talking about history and dancing on TikTok videos, but it's also important that we cover these videos and we cover these subjects. So this is a part of a series of videos, and you can see a playlist in one of those directions, if I remember as a content creator, to put it up there. So, self-care ideas. And again, I'm just going to be repeating myself by telling you to meditate, to tell you to listen to music. But I can't emphasise those things I've told you so far. And, write them down. I mean, I think having a little notebook to write things down is a wonderful thing and really does help. So take the time to have a little notebook. Write down these things. Write down the things that are going to help you develop to be a better person and to get over your problems in life. Because you're going to find yourself so benefiting from that notebook. And also, have a little book to draw in. I know some people say, oh, I can't draw, save my life. But until you have a go, you're not going to be able to draw, are you? Everything takes practice. And it's another way to take yourself out there for a few minutes. You go to your local park, you think, oh, I'm going to draw that. You get your little drawing book out with a pencil, and you just draw the scenery. You don't have to be Van Gogh. You don't have to be Picasso. You just got to be you. So having and getting away from that digital life and going more analog in the sense of having a notebook and having a drawing little pad or book, and perhaps you could do one every year. And when it's filled up, you start a new one. And then later in life, you can look back, oh yeah, I remember when I drew that. I remember when I drew this. Oh, look at this. And that will really help as well. Not just that, it's a record of who you are as a person. And then self-care at home. Again, that's, if you're lucky to have a garden like I do, it's going in your garden. It's spending a few hours gardening away. I can get lost in gardening, I really can, because I do really love it. But I've got to find the time to go and do it. And of course, I'm running a YouTube channel, so a lot of the time my life is dominated by that. I mean, literally every day I get up and that's one of the first few things I think of. Even before a cup of coffee, I'm thinking about, well, what I'm going to do today on the channel, what videos am I going to put out? And because it's a journey, and it's a journey of positivity, and I hope you get that message and you see that on the channel. So mental health awareness, being aware of your mental health is so important. Being aware of who you are as a human being, because I'm guilty of burying my head in the sand. And what do I mean by that? It's by not dealing with a situation. It's by hiding yourself away. So if you bury your head in the sand and you don't deal with the situation you're in, that situation again is going to get worse. And again, it forms a vicious circle. Because often in life, everything is a circle, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your work. And again, a bit like stress, you worry about your stress, you stress more, you worry about your stress, and you keep going round and round and round. So you got to stop that circle, create a positive circle, and say stress and dealing with it, change, no stress, happiness, self-awareness, no more stress. I'm too busy to worry about things anymore because I'm having a good life. And that circle becomes a wonderful thing and not a negative thing. So change that circle from a negative circle to a positive circle. And I think that's a really good way of, exploring it, really. I think it's a fascinating thing. And somebody who I love very dearly kind of introduced me to this whole circle thing. And I'm so thankful for that knowledge. So, yes, self-improvement. We should always strive every day to self-improve, to become better, become kinder. And, I'm guilty of it myself. But I try every day to be a better person. I try every day to do things better, whether it's, in a physical form or a non-physical form. I try to think better. I try to dream and sleep better. But when it comes to content, I try to improve my thumbnails. I try to improve my titles and my descriptions. And a lot of that I incorporate AI because I find it a shortcut and it saves me time and gives me more time. And I think really, I think AI is going to have a massive effect on people's mental health when it comes to support in the future. I mean, for instance, on Facebook, you got various different AI people. You could talk to an AI psychologist, for instance, on Facebook. And I find that to be fascinating. I recently did one where I talked to about horoscopes and I wanted just to learn a bit more about that aspect of life. And I noticed there's one about history, and I found that to be useful. So again, trying to incorporate these things for that positive journey and outcome is a wonderful thing. So, and I think we can't really talk about content and being in front of a camera without talking about a very important aspect about YouTube and video making itself, which is burnout. Not necessarily burnout from normal life, but also burnout from content burnout. And I've had that in the past where I've worked so hard on the channel, I've literally just burnt myself out and I've not had the energy physically or mentally to make any videos for a few weeks or even a few months. But quite luckily, I created mechanisms and different techniques to deal with that. So I don't really suffer too much from burnout, but also because I really enjoy and love what I do. And I think that's also important, that you love what you do. If you've got a hobby, let's say you play tennis and you don't like it, well, why are you doing it? If you've got no fun or joy from a hobby or something you do, why are you doing it? So you've got to have that enjoyment and you've got to have that positivity around that journey of what you're doing. And that is why I love what I'm doing on YouTube, because I really, really love, and I think you can probably tell because I'm a very genuine, and I like to think I'm a very honest and sincere person. So I hope you can tell that from the videos and from this video, because it's not about me, it's about you as well. So let's just recap and just summarise it. So slow down, never be afraid to have an intervention from your friends. When I first went back in work, I had an intervention at Universal Credit and I met this guy called David who really told me to slow down, and for half an hour he gave me his time and I had a lot of support and it was wonderful. Care for yourself, find good support in your friends, find that time to meditate and relax and figure out the way forward. And above all, seek hope. If you need hope, seek it, because if you don't seek it, you're just creating a vicious circle again, and you're not going to move forward in a positive light. So yes, I hope that has covered self-care enough. I hope you find it to be beneficial. And if you do like this video, then please consider subscribing, and do give the video a like and leave a comment. Those three things are very important, especially liking the video and leaving a comment. Please do go out your way and leave a comment. Let me know about your journey, because I'd love to read it in the comments, because I find reading people's comments to be an amazing thing, and it's a gift when you go out your way spend 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 30 seconds to, you know, leave a comment. If you're shy, I mean, some people are, just leave an emoji, a smiley face or a thumbs up, because that's interaction, and I love that. And I do understand people are shy. Some people don't want to comment, and some people are not even, you know, don't even have a Google account. So do get a Google account so you can leave a comment as well. So for now, just goodbye. And I just want to say I love you all. And let's not forget that kindness and love and peace and harmony and all these positive things will change your life. And I hope that this video has done that for you today. Just goodbye. Goodbye from me. I love you guys. I really do. From my heart.
Yeah.